So a lot of people rumored throughout the season that like Teresa Weatherspoon was sacrificing wins to get Angel Reese her double-double streak, that she was sacrificing Camila Cardoso for the streak, that she had lost the dressing room because of her insisting on running through Angel Reese when she was their least efficient offensive player. And I called BS on all that. And a recent report says that might be true. So this is from a Chicago Sky journalist. This is from, what's her name? Anna Constable. And she basically said this in her article. From the beginning, it was clear that Weatherspoon's inexperience would be a difficult hurdle to overcome. She had just 6 seasons of head coaching experience, all at the collegiate level. By the way, more than Christy Sides. Weatherspoon's inability to keep the team schematically compared was evidenced by rotations and poor late game play calls. Her failure to maximize rookie Camila Cardoso, the number 3 overall draft pick on offense, also came into question. Obviously, they played through Reese and not Cardoso. According to league sources, Weatherspoon had lost the locker room because of a culture that catered to the needs of a few players. Dear Lord, that is bad. That's a bad line right there. Every locker room goes through their ups and downs. Elizabeth Williams said, and there's always growing pains, whether it's with younger players or with a new coach. That was the general sentiment. League sources have previously told the Sun Times that free agents were skeptical of joining the Sky. On Wednesday, Pagliota acknowledged the team had heard things along those lines. It's really bad. That's really, really bad. So basically, they fired Teresa Weatherspoon because they found out no one was going to play for her. That's the reality of the situation, is that they found out no one was going to play for her. Which is not great. And so all of those free agents that Angel Reese was saying, I'm a good GM, we can get all these free agents. Maybe their agents didn't want them there. Maybe they just maybe it was just a passing comment of like talking to us like, oh, I'd love to play for you. I'd love to play with you at some stage. Or like the Gabby Williams situation being like, oh, I'd love to play with you. Just not where you're at. And look, it is what it is. She made them more of her friends and her babies than she is a coach. Angel even said she wasn't tough enough. I'm not sure when Angel said that. I said the entire she puts players in front of the team narrative wasn't just made up. Weird, because every single Angel Reese fans, when your best player in the paint is shooting well over 50% and they're only getting 8 shots per game and still outscoring the other players, the other player who is shooting 30% from the field with 14 shots a game, it means you can't coach at all. And I will say this, I did say coming into this year, and I'm like, unless Angel Reese makes a big improvement, she's not going to get the shots that she was getting with Teresa Weatherspoon. I think that's the reality of it, is that she's just not going to be allowed to shoot the ball that much. But this is a horrible, horrible, horrible look if this is the truth. Like, we can only speculate. We can only speculate based on what we've seen. And nobody knows what's going on in locker rooms. But, like, I'm sorry. If that is the truth and the players were like, she literally only cared about these players, and one of the players might have been Camila Cardoso, who was very, very, her development was non-existent throughout the year. That's not a good sign. It's just really, really not a good sign for the Chicago Sky organization. And I think it was more, and I will say this, I think it was more about the GM. And a lot of people are like, oh, the GM just wants to take control. And I actually think that might be more of the case, is like the GM wants to take back control. And the theories of, like, how are these theories looking like they're becoming the truth? That like the front office was like, our pick was Cardoso. You as a coach, you picked Angel Reese. So you started force feeding through Angel Reese. So it's like, why are these weird conspiracy theories? Are we basically getting told that they're true? Which is mental. Which is absolutely mental. And by the way, I don't like losing teams, tanking teams regularly will play through young, inefficient players. But like the Sky obviously weren't meant to be tanking. And that was the scariest part of it all. Like, late games down the stretch, I was saying loads of times, I'm like, the Sky are either tanking or she's a terrible coach. Turns out she's just a terrible coach. Her decision making as far as basketball is concerned wasn't great, but one thing she did very much do was, I will say, she got the best out of Kennedy Carter and Angel Reese. But like, if it's at the expense of the rest of the team, and then we don't see Angel Reese at like the team, the team like launching of their facility, and then we don't see Kennedy Carter there either. She hasn't gone to China yet. You might be saying, oh, but like Kennedy Carter's a free agent. Well, so is Michaela Onyenwere. Michaela Onyenwere was there. Could they be setting up to trade Angel Reese? I don't think they're going to trade her anytime soon, by the way. But like, her contract becomes gold dust. And I've said this plenty of times. They are probably lining up to trade one of Camila Cardoso or Angel Reese. I think the better player is Cardoso. I think the player with more value is Angel Reese. As far as on the open market, I think it's a situation, and I'm trying to even think what you could get. Like, you couldn't even get like a good player and 2 firsts for her. Because even though she was an all-star as a rookie, it's just being, you bring the circus with you without, like, for lack of a better word, it's like you bring the circus with you, but you don't get the like top 5 level impact. Unless, of course, you want to look at the Raptor numbers. I actually think by the end of the season, Caitlin Clark had higher Raptor numbers than Angel Reese. Either way. So really, really bad look. A bad look on the Sky. A bad look on Teresa Weatherspoon. I'm not even going to say it's a bad look on Angel Reese, because her coach clearly wanted her to get those double-doubles. Like, it would seem to be the streak. And if we didn't see how, it was like the way the streak ended. Like, let's be real. Nobody's going to be happy when they're being told force feed. You're down by 30 against Indiana. Even when it's not, the streak was over. When you're down 30 against Indiana, and then your 4 or 3 of your starting 5 are out of the game. You're coming up against the other team's bench. Angel Reese is 5 points. And then it's start force feeding Angel Reese. So like, these bench players coming on the court, they can't get any sort of a rhythm because they're told, give it to Angel. When Cardoso's killing her, Izzy Harrison's killing it, one of them has to sit on the bench because, you know, we got to get Angel her buckets. So, look, it seems like it lost her job. It really does. And look, of all the reasons, the valid reasons to fire Teresa Weatherspoon, I think that's one of them. And I think long term, you could probably tough love Angel Reese into being like, look, this was not good. This season was not actually good for your game. It was like, you being in the starting lineup, that was good, whereas another coach might not have done it. But all this double-double crap, that was horrible for your game. You need to forget about this and go back to like focusing on basketball. And maybe you can tough love it into Angel Reese and convince her that Teresa Weatherspoon being fired was eventually a good thing. But obviously what Teresa Weatherspoon did for Angel Reese and Kennedy Carter as far as basketball players was great. What she did for the Chicago Sky team, for the organization, was not great. And the fact is if you are the GM and you are trying to call up agents, like Lynn Dunn's talking about how agents are already like her phone's like ringing off the hook. Like her phone's like completely being blown up by people looking to play with Caitlin Clark, and one GM is being flooded with agent calls. And I wouldn't be surprised if the Chicago GM is being called by Kennedy Carter's agent, being like, no, Teresa Weatherspoon, we don't want to sign here, is being called. I say nothing about Kennedy Carter's, but like being called by, say, Michaela Onyewere's agent, being like, no, we think she can get something good elsewhere. I know she's restricted. Being called up by Izzy Harrison's agent, and like obviously Dana Evans' agent, being like, get her out of here. And then trying to call up other agents, see if you can get free agents, or inquiring about free agents or other things, and it's then just crickets from them. So I wouldn't be that surprised if it turns out that he was trying to like not make any deals, but like put the feelers out, and everyone was no. Half the players that were there were get me out, And then you're just left with Kennedy Carter, Angel Reese, and Camilla Cardoso after an off season where you lost Kat Copper, who wanted out, and other players like Alana Smith, Courtney Williams, and then like Marina Mabry wanted out during the season. So maybe it's time the GM was like, I need to actually be able to do my job and put my foot down. We're not doing this crap. But yeah, very, very interesting one.